These kids do not need to be wearing these masks, okay? I'm sorry, they don't. We need to be able to let them be kids and let them act normally, and that's what should be the case in the fall throughout the school year.
We are leaning into, we're not making political decisions. We are leaning into the advice and counsel of medical experts. Sometimes people may feel that's slow. We understand. It's frustrating. I'm tired of wearing a mask too. We understand how the American people are feeling. Health and medical experts should be our North Star.
How can you assure us that slave labor coming out of China, where genocide is taking place as we speak, are never a part of the climate solution in the United States?
You're absolutely correct. It is a problem. Zhejiang province produces some of the solar panels that we believe are being, in some cases, produced in forced labor by Uyghurs.
So in other words, John Kerry, how can you assure us that we're not going to have slaves build our cool new wind energy stuff and electric cars? Well, I'm so glad you asked that, because we can assure you they will be doing it. Well, great. Okay, so how to say it. We are beginning to see the river in front of us drop off, and I'm getting a increasingly worried feeling that we are about to go over the waterfall, if we haven't already begun to go over the waterfall. There is a lot going on at once, and among other things, the entire, not only leadership vacuum of the United States, but the willingness and the insistence on getting way the hell over our skis on agenda items, regardless of the current realities. These things have converged, and we are looking at a cluster bleep.
Mm-hmm.
Even with
that's fair.
Just with the Kerry stuff, just with the climate initiatives, having us already. First of all, you've destroyed any possible negotiation power you have at all with the Chinese. We've now promised the far left of the party that we're going to get these climate wish list items. So we're now engaging with the Chinese with this blockhead, John Kerry. And regardless of the human rights violations that are happening over there, regardless of the energy situation that we have over here, which is a problem, the administration is moving forward. This administration cannot think on its feet. No, they're simply moving forward. It doesn't matter. We're still closing other pipelines, not just the Keystone pipeline, the construction that's being stopped. We are closing other pipelines in the United States right now, and the administration does not intend to stop. It doesn't matter to them that we've had new threats, new developments come up that are very serious. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. As a matter of fact, it doesn't matter to them that the administration's posturing is very likely the major cause of the Hamas attacks in Israel,
mm-hmm.
and the reticence of this administration to embrace Abraham Accords and willingness to work with Iran, which is a
mm-hmm.
terrorist state,
right,
has been taken advantage of. And they know, what are we going to punish them? Mm-hmm. No, we're not going to punish Iran. We're trying to work with them. We're trying to embrace them. And even that's going badly. They're not even that into us. They're not interested in it anymore.
Right.
So that's just foreign policy wise. And so now what are we going to do but double down our efforts? So that's been the what we've seen here is the initiative goes forward, causes huge resulting chaos and carnage in one way or another, mm-hmm. and the administration then doubles down on it. So it's happening for it's happening in foreign policy. It's happening domestically with the inflation crisis, with the border crisis. This administration, the template, the branding was, we're the competent team. We're not the idiots who just left here. Mm-hmm. So they will do nothing at all to even message that maybe they've made a misstep and they're tweaking something. You can tell from the messenger, from Jen Psaki. She got her marching orders. She knows what to say. It is not
They're busier dunking on the press corps for daring to ask them a question than they are trying to think up actual solutions to the problems they've been causing.
You're right. There is nothing.
They want a snappy comeback line for the question. They don't want to have to actually answer it or something.
Right. Or essentially, she's speaking in press release, and there you go. That's your answer. Is this absolutely anodyne bunch of really vacuous brief we're handing you guys, and you can take it or leave it, because we don't have the answers. We're not really. So many people are so thrilled inside the building that many of us aren't really panicking inside the executive mansion. The Democratic Party itself is wacky left, so you're not going to see pushback from them. And there's only one Joe Manchin.
Right.
So
there's a Christensen too.
Sure. Like that, so there's two Joe Manchins, but that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that's all that's standing in between us and even worse problems than we're seeing right now. Because
hello. You back?
Yep.
Okay.
Because everything they've done so far has broken things that were working fine under Trump,
right.
And they want more of it right now.
Yes, and it is bringing the country in many ways to its knees. It's I hate to say it and sound like this, but from the infusion of woke culture and LGBT initiatives into the military, to the corporate coercion, to the reticence to do anything that remedies the crisis at the border.
Right, they have no answers to any of this stuff.
They're
just careening from disaster to disaster. They don't foresee any of these consequences that they cause, even though everybody says it's going to happen. Everyone tells them this is going to cause inflation, and they go, no, it won't cause inflation. Well, guess what? Inflation just hit the market really hard, and their answer is, it's transitory. It's going away. It's not fun. And everybody's saying, I don't know if it's really going away. It seems like it's not going away. The markets tumbled 300 points on the news, on the inflation report this morning. And then all the smart people said, that's fine. They're just reacting. Markets are like that. They'll recover by the end of the day. Well, it's almost the end of the day right now. The Dow is down 700 points. I hope everything is going great for everybody, because this is a freaking disaster. And they want to do more of it. Right. This is the actual intended consequence of what is going on. And this is from April. So this doesn't even, the huge inflation number that we saw in April, this doesn't even reflect, the gas prices. Gas prices fell from March to April. They fell 3%. So that doesn't reflect what's going on now with the pipeline. This is going to get worse before it gets better. This is not okay for the economy right now.
No. And the citizenry is losing faith in government. It has lost a lot and continues to. And the government, because they continue to simply market to the American people their ability to handle every crisis and be super competent, they're not warning the citizens who should know of coming storms. They're not warning them of coming storms. They're saying they're not happening, which is why now you've got people filling up plastic trash bags with gasoline at pumps. Because they're desperate, and suddenly they've gone to everything's fine. It's a Tuesday to holy bleep. There's no gas anymore. It's Wednesday. I'm now in a crisis situation in my own home.
Right. It's not. This is not what normal economies do. I mean, yesterday they were literally, as people were posting pictures online of huge lines at gas stations and gas stations everywhere with numbers taken down across the entire southeast of the country, they were saying there was no gas shortage. It's not a gas shortage. Some stations just temporarily run out. Sometimes that happens when you get there at the end of the day. No big deal. This isn't real. Don't believe it. It's not true. Same with the border crisis. You notice how the border crisis is now over? There's no discussion of it.
Right.
There was some news stories where they were saying the kids in CPP custody is down 60%. It's at its lowest level now. We only have 1,000 kids in CPP custody. Yeah, and that's because they're all in HHS custody now. They're all in ORR buildings. We have 22,000 unaccompanied minors in our government custody right now. And it's not going away. We had the highest numbers on record for last month in 20 years of people crossing the border. This is,
Well, Alice,
they can't. it's so bad right now that people can't even hold the last crisis in their head while it's not even over yet before the next crisis comes and everyone's distracted by the next terrible thing.
And remember, Saki comes right out of the PDB, right? The Presidential Daily Briefing with the president and Ron Klain and the most powerful group of people in the world.
Right.
And she has the messaging, and she brings it right to the people. And as a matter of fact, today she said exactly that. That Border Patrol check-ins, we'll say, have been way down. And you're right, yes, of course, because we've got them kids in other cages.
Yeah,
right
they're
now.
somewhere else now.
So, and here's the thing that's happening, and this is actually a small, tiny silver lining to this really iceberg crashing moment, is that some members of the press are getting the messaging from the very nice and sweet and super competent, transparent Jen Psaki, and then they're phoning home and hearing from their parents and their college friends. They're hearing something very different happening, like there's no gas left. And so they're starting to wonder, what's going on? Why is everybody here in this presidential briefing room? Why is the inner circle seem to be just fine, not sweating things, where we're hearing from the outside world that things are going bad? And so now these members of the press who don't want to be adversarial,
right?
They're
they want to collect their cookies and have a nice time at the press briefing
with Jen, do selfies with Jen Psaki and the rest of the folks. So now they're in this uncomfortable position, and they're begging her. Really, they're begging her. Please level with us, Jen. Do you notice what's happening around here?
One bigger picture question. You have these surprising inflation numbers. The jobs number was much lower than expected. The situation in Israel, the pipeline. Does it suddenly feel like the external world is turning on you guys, or that you suddenly are juggling a lot more crises, or any concern about that?
If that's not a panic question.
Do you notice anything? Does anything seem to be not the way you want it to be, or anything?
My question is for the Grim Reaper right next to you, Jen. It is the most apocalyptic question I've heard a member of the press ask somebody.
That's what we're made for here. We certainly know that, and the president knew from having served.
That's what we're made here for. There is no problem.
As vice president for 8 years, that when you walk in and you're the leader of the free world and you're overseeing a country that is still working its way through a pandemic and an economic recovery, that you have to be prepared to juggle multiple challenges, multiple crises at one time, and that's exactly what we're doing at this moment.
Yes, but you caused many of the multiple crises at one time.
There were things that were broken under Trump prior to Biden assuming office, including, Trump's press conferences about the pandemic or whatever else. That being said, they have broken a lot of things that were going just fine under Trump. The recovery was coming along nicely under Trump. The border wasn't a total disaster under Trump. Israel and Hamas were not bombing each other under Trump. There's a lot going on now that was not happening. I didn't even get to the fuel crisis. I didn't get to the inflation. A lot of this stuff was not broken before they came into office. So they're now at a point where there was an existing pandemic when we got here. It doesn't cut it. This just doesn't. And I know they're still trying to blame the pandemic for all the problems, which is why Biden continues to wear a mask everywhere he goes against the advice of medical experts, including by himself outside, even though he's fully vaccinated, and, when he's alone in a room with just other vaccinated people. But, be that as it may, the pandemic is winding down to a close, and a bunch of new stuff now isn't working that was going just fine. You know who they are, Tom? They're our middle son, who, whenever he walks into a room, there's things falling off the counter. He falls off his chair at dinner, just sitting there, right? Normally.
Yes.
He opens the fridge, and all of a sudden, there's a full carton of eggs out on the floor, broken. He's just
everything he walks by falls, cracks, breaks, implodes.
Right. Everything he touches just falls down around him. That's what the Biden administration is like right now. Every policy they put forward turns into a total disaster in their hands.
But they've got nobody raising their hand at all saying, hey, remember Initiative B? Maybe now maybe now we should take a step back from that, considering we've got a new crisis. Maybe now we don't jerk around oil companies just for the moment right now, considering we've got a pipeline crisis. Maybe right now we don't cancel a pipe just for now, Maybe now, while the Chinese are using slaves to build the stuff that we want, maybe we put the brakes on that a little bit. Maybe now we don't reach out to Iran, who is funding Hamas is funded by Iran, among other places. Maybe we should hold off for a second here, because they sense weakness, the Iranians here, and they're beating the crap out of Israel, and we've shown they were reticent to be supportive of Israel, certainly not as supportive as the last team. We've shown that we want to be the anti-Trump administration, and Trump was very pro-Israel.
Right.
So they got the writing on the wall. The world has seen the writing on the wall, but there's no attempt, and this is creepy almost. There's no attempt to make any adjustment whatsoever at all. And we're
doing a great job. What do you mean? Everything's great.
Right. It's wacky.
You speak for the president. What is his message to Americans right now who are worried about the supply of gas and rising prices?
His message is, I understand, and I am doing everything I can, using every lever of government to ensure we reduce the impact on the American people and their lives, whether it is because they want to travel for the weekend, whether they are going to visit their grandchildren because they just got vaccinated, just to incorporate another objective, or whatever.
Clever messaging. How about whether or not they want to drive to work or make deliveries
or get to a hospital or whatever else it might be.
But no, we understand. You might want to go and take the credit, get vaccinated. Excellent cross-promotion, Jen, two-pronged marketing.
It may be. And his concern his focus from the very beginning is do not halt. Act. I need you to act. I need you to take action to put every step in place that is possible.
Did Colonial, I think I know your answers to these, but I want to ask them, did Colonial pay the ransom already? Or
take every action, she said. Do not halt. Take every action.
Or will they pay it?
Will Colonial pay the ransom, he asked.
I would send you to Colonial to answer that question. Of course, the guidance from the FBI is not to do that.
Does the U.S. government know whether they paid or intend?
I just don't have anything more for you on that.
Do you believe that the public and the government...
Well, the ransom is important here. Because that's one of the reasons why half the flow of gas to the East Coast has been stopped. This is a ransomware attack. You taught us yesterday what that is, right? So these questions, this should be interesting to have some insight into this.
Government have a right to know when a major national security asset, like in this case, pays or would pay a ransom to the Russians.
Well, first of all, Peter, we have not made an official attribution aside from the individual.
To whomever.
Okay, but that's an important point. Just for clarification, official attribution, I will say that there is advice and guidance we get from the federal government because we know this incentivizes additional attacks. That is guidance that's given from the FBI. But this is a private sector company, and I would refer you to them for any questions about what they have or have not paid.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, that makes me feel good and confident about this being resolved. Hopefully the boardroom of the Colonial Pipeline, or whatever they're called, hopefully they're really good at hostage situations here. Or else I'll just need more garbage bags full of gasoline.
Not like this is a key infrastructure component. It's just a private company. They're back to just a private company line from 2 days ago. As though it's not an extremely heavily regulated industry that the government is deeply involved in at every level that supplies critical infrastructure to American citizens. Just a private company. Just go ask them. I don't know. By the way, they're not planning to pay the ransom, is my understanding from reading the news about it. They are working with data security people to put it back together. But
you know what this is? Mm-hmm. This is the return of the Obama-Biden era strategic patience. That's it. Use lofty rhetoric. Be rosy and colorful about it. Use bureaucratic speak whenever possible. Defer to other parties whenever possible. I'll ask you to talk to the Fed about that. You can take that up with Janet Yellen, or you can, ask Secretary Buttigieg about that. Something for him, and then just wait it out. Maybe it'll resolve itself.
Yeah, maybe a new crisis will happen that will make everybody forget that we have 22,000 kids in cages and you have no way to buy gas and prices are spiking up rapidly. Unbelievable.
About the inflation report today.
Yeah.
And how the administration sees these numbers. Is there a concern that high inflation is going to continue for a long time and that the administration might need to rethink its spending plans? How high a monthly reading is the administration willing to see kind of quarter after quarter? And then, there's a phrase that's been used a bit by some administration officials, including Cecilia Rouse, saying that it's transitory. What does that mean? Is that thinking about the...
You stepped on Saki's answer is what that means. It's transitory. Like a hurricane is transitory. It's going away. It may take a couple of days and you destroy and flatten entire communities, if not states, but it'll go away. It's a transitory problem.
Next couple of months or through the end of the year, just as we're seeing these bumps that, might spike up some numbers, or you might see low jobs numbers, and it's all just kind of the economy getting back to, normal.
Sure. Well, first let me say that obviously our CE chair has said that, but it reflects the consensus view among economists that are...
It's a new one, too.
Mm-hmm.
All the economists, consensus view. Yeah, the ones in the building, maybe. But by no means is it a consensus view of all the economists of what she's saying to us now.
As our country is experiencing a massive transition from the slowdown during the pandemic to flipping the switch back on as we are continuing.
Yeah, the massive transition is supposed to be one of incredible increased productivity.
Right.
And sorry. Employment roles. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. This thing has a loose. What's the thing?
Cable, or the.
I'm trying to think of a cleverer word. So, yes, we're supposed to have 1 million new jobs. And so the transition was supposed to be something incredibly bountiful right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's not because some horse's tail decided to pay everybody instead of having them return back to restaurants, which they've learned in the last year can get shut down and opened and shut down and opened and shut down and opened at any time. They're keeping people home. They're paying them, and they're saying it's more strategic patience.
In the path to recovery, that we would see a specific number of months or quarters where there is a transitory increase. And that's something that we have prepared for and that most economists say will be temporary.
But we asked you about that, Jen. We asked you about inflation, and it was absolutely fobbed off as not something that economists are seeing.
Yeah, they weren't thinking they were going to have it. So now they're having it. A big driver of it was was cars, because there's chip shortages in the supply chain, so they can't get enough chips to make new cars. So the car market spiked up like 10%. That accounted for
and there's no more used cars left because people are trying to get whatever they can.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that's driving this, and it's not going to go away. And it might not be the same items that jump up every month, but there are supply chain issues across the economy that are continuing to be felt. This is not going to stop anytime soon, and I'm concerned across the board, but I'm less even concerned about the year-over-year inflation, which was prices were up 4% from last year, but the consumer price index, which is month to month, was up. It was 0.8%. So prices are up almost an entire percent from March to April. And if you annualize that, you're talking about 10% inflation over the course of the year, which is nuts. That had better not carry forward. And that was a big miss because they were estimating like 0.2% inflation month over month. So the bump in the consumer price index is really concerning. The 4.2% was also an estimation miss. That was higher than expected. Everything's a surprise with them. Everybody's telling them we're going to the grocery store and the prices look higher than usual, and they're saying we don't expect to see inflation. Oh, wow. There was more inflation.
Stay there. It's this one right here, Alice. It's just pull. Stay. Dang it. Stay. Okay, watch this. Now it'll be fine.
Okay.
And if it stays, it'll be fine.
Should we deputize a child to come in and hold it during
never.
the show?
Okay. All right. I apologize for the technical problem. Okay, so Jen Psaki says it's not a problem. It's not there isn't inflation. Mm-hmm. This is a transitory thing. It's not bad. Then she goes on further, and this is the planning session that they do. during the day. The comms staff gets together, the comms shop gets together, and they say, okay, guys, if we're going to cop to transitory inflation, we need to offset that with other messaging. And offset they do.
I will say there's some interesting data. It will be interesting to us, I think, hopefully to others. But, for example, that as we looked at this data, so airfares increased by 10%, but are still almost 20% below pre-pandemic price levels. Hotels also see a price increase, but remain below pre-pandemic price levels.
So good stuff is happening.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Perfect.
Exactly. Hotels, yeah, sure, they've gone up and airfare has gone up, but they're lower than it was, but they're lower now than they were before the pandemic.
Right.
So it's good news.
Great.
Americans are feeling more comfortable traveling again. That's a good sign. And a lot of these price increases are still below what they were prior to the pandemic. We're also seeing in the data.
Somebody else, I hope, will check that. We'll see exactly what's there.
Data that some of the price increases impact the reflection of the supply chain pressures. So if you look at used motor vehicle prices, that accounted for more than a third of the increase, and that it was an impact in large part because there are fewer new cars, and as a result, there are more. And that is an impact of the semiconductor chip shortage.
Why are you convincing us that there are supply chain problems? We know it.
Yeah.
So why are you pointing this out, the semiconductors and the used cars, etc.? We already know this.
Yeah, the thing is that you handed people a bunch of cash, but there are still the same number of cars that there were, and that doesn't resolve the supply chain problems. So when there's more demand for something and people have more money to spend on it, but the thing itself, there can't be made any more of it because there's either a labor shortage or a chip shortage or whatever shortage. You can't solve the shortage by handing people money. There's only so many cars. Bacon was one of the biggest increases. Bacon prices were crazy. You buy the bacon in this house, so you probably have noticed an increase.
Well, certainly meat is very expensive, but I've been getting actually an on-sale bacon, but I don't want to.
You don't want to give away the secret?
No.
Cause a run on bacon, on your special bacon. But bacon prices have been, there's like weird supply chain problems that are filtering their way through the economy. And labor shortages are a piece of it as well as many other things. But these things are complicated. And yeah, when you shut off the economy for a while, there are problems that don't resolve quickly. And handing people money doesn't fix them.
There's a couple of data points that are specific to this moment, and we knew just as the economy sort of shrunk and shut down that as it's turning back on, there would be some of these impacts. But we are constantly tracking. We have shared our expectations on inflation. As we experience this massive transition, we continue to chart our path to recovery, and we know that number of the investments that we have proposed were long needed even before the last several months.
Right. Charting our path to recovery. Strategic patience, steady as she goes. That is it.
Yeah, and these things were broken before, so we're going to make them even better than they were. It's perfect.
Oh, do I dare?
You just don't see the long-term benefit of having all the prices spike up and not being able to buy gas and all these other things.
Okay, here we go. We're going to have to get there, Alice,
The Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce just polled 200 small businesses, and 64% are having trouble hiring people. 42% of them cited the higher COVID-19 unemployment benefits. The University of Chicago separately estimated 42% of people are getting more money not to work than they would have in their previous jobs. President Biden said on Monday, quote, no one should be allowed to game the system, and we will insist that the law is followed. Has the White House done anything to, instruct states to more severely enforce the rules on unemployment benefits?
He asks, oh, you sweet, naive kid. I'm sure they jumped right on.
We certainly expect any state is enforcing the law.
Strategic patience.
But I would say that what we've seen across the majority of economic data and from the majority of economists is that the biggest impacts and factors are the pandemic and that fact.
Did you think that was a factor in what's happening economically right now?
No, I don't think anybody thought of that. I don't think business owners have heard about the pandemic. Maybe somebody should let them know. They probably didn't know there was a pandemic.
Where is everybody? I don't get it.
That we're still recovering from a pandemic. And
What a throwaway horse bleep answer this is. She's just lost interest in answering it.
And people having concerns or issues with childcare or fears if they're not yet vaccinated about.
For this administration to say that about childcare, where childcare for many people is the school system.
Right.
Those are their people, remember. Those schools were supposed to be open at this point months ago.
Oh, yeah.
We were promised 100 days. The teachers union said, go F yourself. No 100 days. And Biden said, okay, no 100 days.
Going back to a workplace. And there are a number of steps we've put in place, including assistance to restaurants, as I noted earlier today, to small businesses to ensure they have that vital assistance at this point in time. And obviously for bigger companies, we've been encouraging them to use some of the $1.4 trillion in assistance they've received to pay higher living wages.
Oh.
Good. Yeah. Well, pay more money. That's a great solution.
For
I like that
inflation,
one.
yes. Yes. Jack up all the wages everywhere and all the prices everywhere.
But those are the range of factors that most economists believe are the issues at this point in time, even though we look at data over the course of several months. And over several months, we've been creating about 500,000 jobs a month.
Ooh, some fuzzy math right there.
Yeah. We'll claim credit for what was happening right as we entered office, because that's something we caused, but not what's happening right now. That's definitely from Trump and the pandemic.
No, we were absolutely ready to look at month to month. Last Friday, if the jobs report showed 1 million jobs that month.
Right.
But now we're going to do a rolling average.
Yeah, late January, early February, those jobs were caused by Biden's policies. The jobs in April, that was caused by Trump's policies. So if you have questions about that, I suggest you talk to the Trump administration, and they'll let you know what they did that caused the jobs report to be bad, because they can probably give you more detail on that since they caused the pandemic. The other thing I love that she said is when she said that people are fearful because they still can't get the vaccine. There's no one left who can't get a vaccine. If you want a vaccine now, you can get it. Consider this a PSA that everywhere is taking walk-in appointments now. They're available everywhere. This is why they're opening it up to the kids 12 to 15, because the demand has slowed down. You have every opportunity to get one. If you're afraid to leave your house because you have not been able to get a vaccine, you know what? Send me an email and I'll help you book an appointment.
Right.
This is not a thing.
We're patting yourselves on the back 3 weeks ago telling us how your great NASCAR ad campaign was going to get all the WT to go and sign up to get their Johnson & Johnson shot. And suddenly, no, the reticent people just aren't getting their vaccine. And then, I thought you had the answers to all this stuff. You knew everything. You knew where to find people.
This is what they're here for.
You knew where to meet them where they are.
Mm-hmm.
More simple strategic patience.
There's a recent New York Magazine article about...
So listen to this. It was bizarre and very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's a recent New York Magazine article about how the White House polices language in Washington that I'm sure you read the other day. And a particular graph points to an Associated Press memo that advises reporters against using the word crisis, which the administration has said that they're not going to use the word crisis for the border. And it cites a person close to the White House as saying that one very real possibility is that the strategy works. They may get criticism and think pieces about it, but at his 100-day mark, Biden is the most liberal president we've had, and the public thinks he's a moderate. That's a winning strategy to me. They're willing to accept that you're going to write this piece as long as they know that swing voters in Colorado aren't going to read it. So does this reflect the White House's thinking that the goal is for Americans to view the president as moderate as he pursues, according to the, quote, the most liberal agenda that we've seen?
Hold on. So what's happening here is the White House is telling the wire service, which is now essentially the AP,
right?
Telling the wire service to change the AP style so you no longer use crisis, and for the AP itself not to use crisis when talking about the border.
Right.
Because, like she's saying, if somebody in Colorado reads their local newspaper or the local news website, the Denver Patch or whatever it is out there, they'll see the wire stories, comes from us from AP. They won't jump out of their seats and read about a border crisis because the AP is not running a border crisis. Not only that, the AP style is telling people not
Aren't
to
they
use
supposed to tell you, where to put commas and how to abbreviate states?
But they also tell you what's the new term. African American is out, black is in. Black with a lowercase b is out, right. Capitalized B is in.
But you have lowercase white because that's
exactly. So that's it. So the AP is in every market.
Right.
So people are bound to see this. But they've extracted now the use of the word crisis for Joe Biden. And so it helps Biden's polling as well, because people just don't know that there's anything happening.
A lot packed into that question. Must have taken some time to write. I will say that our goal is to implement solutions as it relates to the challenges at the border, and not to be caught up in semantics of what we call it.
Other than the fact that we're caught up in the semantics of what we call it, because we ordered the AP to stop calling it that.
Because at the end of the day, what we've seen is a massive reduction in the number of children who are being detained in Border Patrol facilities.
Alice, address that again.
The number of children being detained in Border Patrol facilities is down, yes, because they have moved them all to ORR facilities that are under the jurisdiction of HHS, where there are now 22,000 plus unaccompanied minors being held.
Right. So I am not allowed to call anything happening down there a crisis.
Nope.
But I am allowed to say that the number of kids held in Border Patrol facilities is down.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
it's down to historically
Those are
low
my
levels.
marching orders.
Thanks to the actions of this administration, we've seen a massive reduction in the number of hours kids spend in Border Patrol facilities.
Once again, Border Patrol facilities, which have been largely emptied out.
We're moving them through to the concentration camps much faster now.
And we're continuing to work to get kids into the arms of their family members or to sponsor homes.
We're continuing to work to get kids into
homes. And that's what our objective is. I can't speak to a blind anonymous quote from somebody outside of the White House, which we'd all be for banning those if others would want to commit to that as well.
Well, that's an interesting little thing to say at the end, isn't it?
Yeah, she wants to ban anonymous quotes from anonymous White House people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's a new policy. I hadn't heard that during the Trump
She
years.
was living off of that, of course, as a CNN analyst, anonymous quotes everywhere for the last 4 years. But how dark is this? Just how dark is this?
I would like to ban anonymous quotes from the
No,
media.
I mean, that's fine. But the fact that she is deflecting and making up and contriving narratives here that don't exist. And how do you feel if you're a little kid in a cage right now when she said, no, all the Border Patrol cages have been emptied out? And people don't have enough time to know the difference between Border Patrol cages and HHS cages. They don't know that stuff.
Right.
So they say, oh, they're empty. Biden fixed it. Yay. But the kids are screwed.
Yeah, and I've noticed too that it was when I was looking that up, because I saw another person saying that like the kids held in Border Patrol facilities are way down, and I said to myself, like, I wonder how many are being held in the HHS facilities. And it took a while of searching to find it. If you search like number of kids in ORR detention centers or whatever, it's not like all the results that come up are from March, because that's when places were reporting on this. Now the word has gotten out. They are not reporting that number every day the way that they were.
Right.
So the most recent one I could find was like from a couple days ago, and it was over 22,000. So that has been tamped down on, and you're not going to hear the complaints that we heard under Trump about how Trump was, mean to the media and everything was Fox News, was state media and whatever. And these people are actually, tamping down and making it harder to find information about what's going wrong in this administration in a coordinated, organized way.
Right. Like we just heard it to say to stop, move the word crisis, move it right out. Move it right out.
Right.
All right. So our little palate cleanse, I want to play. This is Ron DeSantis saying common sense stuff as he always does, which is why he's so refreshing. Now I got Ron DeSantis and friggin' Caitlyn Jenner, saying things that obviously make sense.
These kids do not need to be wearing these masks, okay? I'm sorry, they don't. We need to be able to let them be kids and let them act normally, and that's what should be the case in the fall throughout the school year.
Here. Okay, that's a common sense thing. That should be the case. We saw the New York Times article yesterday that said clearly that outdoor transmission is something, okay? Outdoor transmission is something that it's not a factor. It could be 0.1%. In other words, it doesn't happen outdoors almost at all.
Right.
Outdoor
in
transmission.
the tens of thousands of cases they've analyzed, they found like one that happened outdoors.
And kids are safe, but still we're screwing with people, having kids masked, walk around, playing. Today I'm going to softball again. My daughter will be out there with a mask on at another time. We're still screwing with kids, messing with their heads, damaging them. Well, okay, Jen Psaki, Can at least on this one, for the children, can we think on our heels, at least as far as that goes? Can we make a leadership decision not based on wonky overpaid bureaucrats like Walensky and Fauci, but based on the person who leads the executive branch?
Yesterday we heard from Senate Republicans, including Susan Collins, who said that the public's no longer looking to the CDC for guidance because the CDC is moving too slowly. We saw Georgia move ahead on the vaccinations for as young as 12 years old without waiting for the CDC. Is the White House concerned that the public is tuning out the top health experts?
Well, I think you referred to two people who are obviously in public life, but I'm not sure that's a reflection of the totality of the American public. What we know is that...
How unseriously does she take these questions? I guess I'll humor that. Yeah.
How we've approached things is that we believe that health and medical experts should be our North Star.
Oh. Well, I guess that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
They are. That's what we'll go by.
Well, there's plenty of medical experts who are saying these masking rules are stupid, who have been saying schools should have been open and kids don't need to wear masks since last year.
Yes, including at one point Rachel Walensky in her personal capacity.
Not wacky, crazy fringe people who think COVID is all made up completely from nothing. But, I mean, like normal health experts that write things in the Boston Globe and go to Harvard School of Public Health.
Unelected 5'1" psychos who last year at this time were telling us not to wear masks in USA Today. You saw Michael Graham do that? He's our North Star, so we'll believe what he says no matter what.
Even the North Star, though, typically doesn't change which way it leads you 3 times a week, like Dr. Fauci does.
Good point.
That leaning on them and their data analysis and their review of what they think the guidance should be to ensure that the American people can be confident in that.
That's the point, is they're not confident in that anymore, Jen.
Right, and it's not a non-issue, and people have been saying this a long time. People said this in Massachusetts when our governor put in a mask mandate that included outside no matter how far you are from other people. And people said there is a risk to being too alarmist and being too cautious about the restrictions that you put in place, because then people stop believing you because they think you're just doing things that are stupid. So when you tell us to wear 2 masks outside when we're near only vaccinated people, we start to think that maybe you're just full of it and we shouldn't have to listen to what you say.
Should continue to be our North Star.
There we go. It's the North Star. It doesn't matter. In other words, you unelected Fauci and the person about to be fired, Rochelle Walensky, will defer to them on everything. On everything. At no time will we take a leadership position. It is strategic patience.
Unless they go against the teachers' unions, in which case we are not deferring to Rochelle Walensky.
The hierarchy is very clear. Teachers' unions at the top. One step down is CDC and Fauci. And several step downs from there's some other interests. And then at some point the Biden administration will make a decision. Hypothetically. Hold on.
Here's what we also know. As more people get vaccinated, there will be less and less need for certain restrictions. And the CDC has said they will continue to evaluate the science and update their guidelines. But our objective is to ensure that the American people...
As more people get vaccinated, I thought that those were trickling out. It's over. And talk about strategic patience. That's not even strategic patience. That's just giving up. We're done with it. We're moving on.
Yeah, I mean, and how many is enough? Because Massachusetts is already at the Biden administration July 4th goal of 70% of adults vaccinated. So how come we're not seeing in Massachusetts the type of restrictions that the Biden admin says that we can have in July?
People have confidence in the fact that we are leaning into, we're not making political...
We're leaning in. Alice, that's your word.
Decisions. We are leaning into the advice and counsel of medical experts. Sometimes people may feel that's slow. We understand. It's frustrating.
Sometimes people may feel that's slow. Well, yeah, because it was 15 days and now it's been a year and a half.
Yeah, so we feel that the estimates of what we were being asked to do were just a tiny bit off.
Yes, we've got a problem with the public, Mr. President. They feel it's slow, the fact that 390 is much more than 15. That's how they're feeling about this.
It seems to them that that's a little bit of a slower opening than they were promised. It's strange.
Frustrating. I'm tired of wearing a mask, too. We understand how the American people are feeling, but we feel it's important to still maintain that commitment. Go ahead.
Conveyed the message to the CDC that it should be moving quicker to loosen restrictions. Did that come from the White House?
That's a very good question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, are you telling them to hurry, please? Okay. North Star, show thyself, please. We got stuff going on here.
No.
No. Oh, hell no. No. Jeez, no. There's an unequivocal answer. No, absolutely not. No. They're the North Star. We're doing what they told us. They're in charge.
We have conveyed that we will continue to abide by the health and medical advice of our...
So, Dr. Fauci, we're going to give you the choice. Either you can be slow with your decisions and continue to be an international superstar, getting richer every day and getting lauded and celebrated from every corner of the earth, or you can put an end to it all right now. Decision's all up to you. Shocking what he's deciding.
Health and medical experts, many of whom are working at the CDC, and we look forward to, as more people are vaccinated, them continuing to update their guidelines for the public.
I look forward to it, too. Jen Psaki's just like me. She's tired of wearing a mask, too. If she can do it, I can do it, honey.
I do it for you. You know, that makes me a good person.
Thank you. I feel better when I see you out there, out in the field, wearing a mask for me, honey. It just...
Okay, before we go, Alice, and we're running out of time here, because we've got to go. I've got to go to softball. And before we go, should we chuck in this the John Kerry answer? Oh, we already kind of hit that. It doesn't really matter,
Yeah,
right?
we talked about it a little at the
All right,
beginning. I do have one crisis to let you know about that's going to hit close to home here, which is that
the police
I don't
are
know
here
if
again.
you've heard. No, the person who brings the police to our house is sitting right next to me. But this is a problem that does hit close to home. Have you heard that there is a sauce shortage in America?
Is that the word for booze? And if so, that's not funny.
No, sauce packets is in the ones you get at restaurants. There's a shortage.
No, I'm a sauce packet guy. You know, Gary goes.
I know, that's what I'm telling
a lot
you.
Of them.
Chick-fil-A is now limiting how many sauces customers can take with them when they get their food.
Oh, no. That is not okay.
Because of industry-wide supply chain shortages of sauce packets.
Christian zealots. No, we take to the streets. That is not cool.
Sauces will be restricted to 1 per entree, 2 per meal, and 3 per 30-count order
1 per
of
entree.
nuggets. 1 sauce packet per entree.
Chick-fil-A, you
including
lost me.
packets of Heinz ketchup, which is
you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drive up to a drive-through Chick-fil-A and berate the young female worker there, and feel very good about myself. Hello. I'm back.
The Lord's work.
So, by the way, the best sauce that's offered for any. By any fast food place, Alice, is?
The
I'll give you a hint.
King
I'll give you a
Zesty
hint.
sauce?
I'll give you a hint. They're usually self-serve, and there's no limit.
Nacho cheese sauce?
No, incorrect. The Burger King Zesty sauce is very good, though. No, it's the Arby's horsey sauce.
Oh.
Yes. What you do is get multiple beef and cheddar sandwiches and get that horsey sauce.
I think I've only ever had that from the drive-thru, so I didn't get to experience
We went to an Arby's, Alice, in Wisconsin together.
Yeah, but I don't think we went in. I think you brought you brought the food out to us at the car.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so I don't think I was in there and saw the sauce
They're all self-service, Alice. Endless sauces.
Well, those days are coming to a close. Industry-wide shortages in the sauce packet industry. We are in trouble now.
I will single-handedly create a cartel sauce trafficking operation and do whatever it takes to bring Big Sauce to its knees and feed me with my, anyway, I'm only embarrassing myself at this point.
Have a good one, everybody. We will be back tomorrow. This is the Burn Barrel Podcast. We're on Twitter at Burn Barrel Pod. We are also at burnbarrelpodcast.com.
I'm on WTIC tomorrow from 9 to noon.
Oh, that's right. You're on WTIC tomorrow and Friday, as a matter of fact, both days, 9 to noon. You can also find us facebook.com/burnbarrelpodcast. We're on all the places where podcasts are. Write us a review on Apple. That's supposedly really good. And check out YouTube, too, if you want the video versions.